Good morning, Believe Nation. Today we're going to talk about 5 ways to get you being creative.
The first insight I want to offer to you with great respect is whether you are a bookkeeper or a banker, whether you're a taxi driver or a hamburger flipper, whether you're a student or a filmmaker, you are a creative. When we think of the word creative, we think of people who are in ad agencies, or often we think of artists. But whatever you do every day is your craft. Whatever you do every day, you have the opportunity, and I suggest to you the responsibility to produce your art. And what you release out into the world will determine what the world sends back to you. So you are a creative. My life changed when I was a litigation lawyer and I was working on this project for this law society that I was working for in my free time. And I was putting together this project, and we were going to bring together all these different lawyers for the other lawyers in the city. And my co-partner on this project said, you know, Robin, you're extremely creative. And that sort of woke something up inside of me, and it turned me on to the fact that I have creativity inside of me. And it was just this light bulb or aha moment. And so I suggest the same to you, which is regardless of what you do or where you live in the world, you have creativity inside of you. And one of my favorite questions is, what would the little child that you once were think of the adult that you've become? When you were a little kid, your eyes sparkled. When you were a little kid, you loved producing art into the world. What has happened to that, if anything? So I want you to start thinking like Da Vinci. I want you to wake up your inner Picasso. I want you to find that Van Gogh inside of you. And regardless of what you do, I want you to connect to your creative wellspring that longs to, you know, show up fully in the world.
We are so busy that we don't notice that we're not productive. Busy does not mean that you are producing. We are just spinning our wheels. And the great thinking and progress that we've made in this country, steam engines, telephones, automobiles, all types of things, spacecrafts, were done by people who had moments to think. We're moving so fast at breakneck speed. And if we get a free moment, we're on Twitter and Facebook and everything. It's the death of creativity. And I would challenge people to go back to meditation. And if you're spiritual, go back to prayer. If you're not, just go back to just laying still for a moment to clear your head, to hit the reset button. Because we are starting every day with the burdens from yesterday assaulting us in today. Let's put a comma between all of that.
I read somewhere, as an actor, I think, said it, that once a week he doesn't talk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Doesn't talk all day.
Yeah, just peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, just peace. Shut it all down, and you'd be surprised what you can hear when you shut up.
Second tactic for you is the 60-10 method. People have used this method I've been teaching, and it has created game-changing results for them. Science has proven that the best way to achieve elite performance as a creative person is to work in an intense burst for 60 minutes. So literally, you almost get sweaty because you are so focused, you are expending all of your creativity, all of your talents, all of the jewels of your internal gifts for 60 strong minutes. Just like a runner running for 60 minutes full out. Then what do? 10 minutes of recovery. What makes an elite athlete is not really what you do on the playing field, it's how you recover. So 60-10 method, do that twice a day. Let's say you pull out your phone and you look at your time, 60 minutes of intense creativity, 10 minutes of recovery, do another 60-minute burst and another 10 minutes of recovery. That's what, roughly 2.5 hours. You probably will get more done, better work done in those 2.5 hours than most people get done in probably 14 days.
I want to talk about creativity. My contention is that creativity now is as important in education as literacy, and we should treat it with the same status. Thank you. That was it, by the way. Thank you very much. So, 15 minutes left. Well, I was born... No, I had a great story recently, I love telling it, of a little girl who was in a drawing lesson. She was 6, and she was at the back drawing, and the teacher said this little girl hardly ever paid attention. And in this drawing lesson, she did. And the teacher was fascinated. She went over to her and she said, "What are you drawing?" And the girl said, "I'm drawing a picture of God." And the teacher said, "But nobody knows what God looks like." And the girl said, "They will in a minute." When my son was 4 in England, actually he was 4 everywhere, to be honest. I mean, for being strict about it, wherever he went, he was 4 that year. But he was in the Nativity play. Do you remember the story? No, it's big. It's a big story. Mel Gibson did the sequel. You may have seen it. I don't know. It was Nativity 2. But James got the part of Joseph, which we were thrilled about. We consider this to be one of the lead parts. We had the place crammed full of agents and T-shirts, you know. James Robinson is Joseph. He didn't have to speak, but do you know the bit where the 3 kings come in? They come in bearing gifts, and they bring gold, frankincense, and myrrh. This really happened. We're sitting there, and they, I think, just went out of sequence. Because we talked to the little boy afterwards and said, you know, "Are you okay with that?" And they said, "Yeah, why was that wrong?" They just switched. I think that was it. Anyway, the 3 boys came in, little 4-year-olds with tea towels on their heads, and they put these boxes down. The first boy said, "I bring you gold." And the second boy said, "I bring you myrrh." And the third boy said, "Frank sent this." What these things have in common, you see, is that kids will take a chance. You know, if they don't know, they'll have a go. Am I right? They're not frightened of being wrong. Now, I don't mean to say that being wrong is the same thing as being creative. What we do know is, if you're not prepared to be wrong, you'll never come up with anything original. If you're not prepared to be wrong. And by the time they get to be adults, most kids have lost that capacity. They have become frightened of being wrong. And we run our companies this, by the way. We stigmatize mistakes. And we're now running national education systems where mistakes are the worst thing you can make. And the result is that we are educating people out of their creative capacities. Picasso once said this. He said that all children are born artists. The problem is to remain an artist as we grow up. I believe this passionately, that we don't grow into creativity, we grow out of it.
I think about when I first moved down to Florida and I worked at a fitness gym, in one of these big box gyms. It's now LA Fitness. It used to be called Lifestyle Family Fitness. And man, I was a budding entrepreneur. You know, I was one of those trainers that, like, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get more clients. That's why I had the most clients, and that's why I decided to leave and start my own gym. But while I was there, one of the things that kind of made me feel I won't say unappreciated, but kind of like put me down a little bit, like, "Hey, stay in your spot, soldier, stay in your lane, little man," was when I started creating my own pamphlets and my own flyers at the gym. Of course, they're giving me leads, right? But I was ambitious. And I was like, well, you guys are giving me leads, but I'm gonna go get more. I'm bringing them business by creating the pamphlets and the flyers, because I just wanted them everywhere, because I wanted everyone to get an opportunity to, and I wanted an opportunity to showcase my training skills and get more clients. And I remember I made a dope ass flyer, at least I thought it was dope. And I put it up in the gym. I put it up around the gym, you know, in the neighborhood and stuff. And on my off hours, when I wasn't training people, I'd hand them out and stuff. And I'd say, "Hey, come and try out a free workout with me." And it was quickly squashed by the CEO of the company. The manager got word of my ambitions and shared it with the corporate structure, and they were like, "No, this little needs to calm down." So that was one of the things that kind of like made me feel as if, well, you know what? I'm not going to work for anybody else. That's really when I got into entrepreneurship. I would have probably worked for it. I could have definitely worked for. You know, I never want to say that I wouldn't work for anybody. I would work. I like sales. You know, I would have been great in sales. But I would have worked in an environment that allowed creativity, that would have created or allowed me to create my own opportunities. Right? Those are the best places to work. If you're not an entrepreneur and you're working somewhere and you're of the ambitious type spirit, then you're gonna wanna work somewhere where you can work up the ladder, where you can exercise your creativity and create something out of nothing and contribute to the company. But, you know, in my situation, they just weren't having it.
Be creative about how you are role modeling and leaving a legacy. What do I mean? Look, each of us shows up in a certain way. And we have to think about how we show up and the legacy that we leave. When I started this show, you know, I wanted to do something different. Everybody else was interviewing a bunch of people, but they weren't really ever sharing their heart, their soul, what they thought about life. They were looking for wisdom outside themselves, and I think that's fine. I think those formats are great, but I said, I want to leave something different. I didn't know what it was, but I said, well, I'll just try to think of what would be the best of what I could share about life and about myself. And I challenge myself to make that part of this show, and I hope you enjoy it. But, you know, I know a lot of people who go through their whole lives, they're always interviewing, talking to other people, but they've never got articulate about sharing what they feel about life. They weren't creative in thinking about the real legacy you're going to leave is your words, your thoughts, your relationships, your unique contributions. So pursue those things boldly. Pursue those things with consistency. Pursue those things in a way that you'll be happy at the end of your life. You can look back and say, you know what? I was creative. I brought the best of me. I expressed my thoughts, my feelings, my needs, my desires, my vision for life. If you'll do that, you'll feel a new, renewed energy come into your life. You'll feel what we call the charged life.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I made this video because Supun Chinthaka, I hope I pronounced that properly, asked me to. So if there's a topic that you'd like me to cover in the next edition of Believe Life, leave it in the comments below and I'll see what I can do. I'm also curious as to how you stay creative and which of the clips most resonated with you. Leave it in the comments, I'll join the discussion. Thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day. Continue to believe, and I'll see you soon.
We need to value long thinking. Normally we talk about brilliant thinking, fast thinking, deep thinking, but here we're talking about something different, long thinking. What does that mean? It's some thought that takes us far. It's as if you were reading poetry or listening to music. You don't judge the single notes, you don't judge the single words. It's the ensemble that gives you a feeling and takes you far. We must do the same thing with our concepts. We need to go far. And so we can use association of ideas, combination of ideas, extraction of principles and application of those principles to areas where they were never applied before. We need to be open-minded. We need to be fluent. Look for alternatives and not for the correct answer. Because when you think creatively, there's no single correct answer. There are many possible alternatives. And suppose now that we are lucky, we land up upon a new idea in our travel, in the exploration out of the box. What is the value of that? How do we assess the value of a new idea? It's very difficult if it's really new, because you've never seen that before. Nobody else has seen that before. It's as if we landed on a new planet, totally undiscovered territory. And it's difficult to understand the value of something new. First of all, because we don't feel entitled to be inventors. Who am I to be the generator of that new idea? And probably this has been thought about before. If this is correct, somebody else would have done it before me. These are all natural mechanisms with which we kill our own ideas. We have to resist that. We have to look for the match between the new idea and our initial drive, our initial focus, or evaluate the idea per se for its own value, and maybe see that that's something that solves another problem which was not yours. Serendipity happens all the time. We just need to have the eyes to see that, to notice the difference.
How many of you have a little flash of an idea before you go to bed, or when you wake up in the morning, or while you're driving? We have little flashes of ideas, whether it's a song or how to fix something or how to overcome some problem at a job. these little flashes are very important. These are our eureka moments. And when we have these, how many of you jump out of the bed in the middle of winter and write those down? Or pull your car over, not do it while you're driving, because you'll run into me and then I'll get my 10th concussion, and write these ideas down. These ideas are very important, and we often don't realize how important they are to us. And it's not that we don't believe in ourselves, but we don't believe in the validity of these little ideas, these little moments, this fifth stage. But these are important, and these are important to write down.
Third tactic I want to offer to you, learned it from Bill Gates, dream weeks. What he does is from time to time, he schedules one full week. He gets away from his office, gets away from his city, and all he does is read and he thinks. You will get your biggest ideas, not in the office, away from the office, not in your usual environment, away from your environment. I invite you once every quarter, in other words, once every 3 weeks, schedule a full week to do nothing but dream, to think, to strategize, to plan, to ask yourself questions like, where do I need to be 5 years from now for this to have been the best 5-year pocket of my life? What must I do over the course of the remainder of my lifetime so I will have lived a legendary life? Dream weeks work.